Okay, Zach has got the hot question for today. He wants to know, how can I start a successful online business like you have? And man, this is a great question. I've never been asked this before from my YouTube subscribers or Facebook fan members to answer. So this will be a first. I think the first thing I'm going to suggest to you is to figure out why you want to have a successful online business. For me, it was because I never wanted, it was really simple back in 2006 when I pursued the online world and I made a decision to quit my job. I fired my boss in 2008 and we're great friends still, but it took me 2 years to move out of in short, I'll be very honest with you guys, I was making more money on the internet than I was making from my job as a trainer, which paid extremely, extremely well within about a year. And after that, I realized that for me to continue to grow my online business, I needed to go full time. I needed to stop working at the gym part-time and I needed to jump in. I kind of had like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, so I hadn't really made that full commitment. And I knew I was going to, but there's still that fear factor. working at a gym, I was making, I'm making over 6 figures a year in the gym, which is good money. It's not great money, but it's not bad money. And I realized that I could make way, way, way more. I could help way, way more people and I could have a way, way better lifestyle if I went full time. And one of my goals, it was really as simple as never wanting an alarm clock. That was one of my reasons for wanting to have an online business. I just hated the idea of somebody telling me when I had to come into work, when I could take vacation, when I had to go home from work, if I had to work weekends. I just thought that was like a retarded way to live. And again, I don't mean to be offensive to people at all. This is just how I thought. This is the thought process I had. And thought, there's no way if I don't have to, I'm gonna keep doing this. So those were my initial reasons. So my first encouragement to you, Zach, is to figure out the reasons you want to do this. You've gotta have a lot, the only reason people don't succeed in business is because they don't have enough reasons to do so. And I did not want to be told how much I could make. I did not want to be told how many people I could help. I wanted to be in control of my destiny. I wanted to create a business that would serve me, my family. I want to be around for my kids. I want to be able to wake up and have breakfast and lunch, and I want to be around for them to experience all their things. And not to say you can't without an online business, but it certainly provides more opportunities. I never wanted to be stuck here in Canada where it's cold half the year. I wanted to be able to move down to Florida or somewhere else where it's warm if I wanted to. So what I'm telling you, I'm not giving you any advice here, am I? But this is the cornerstone. Like, this is literally the foundation of the success of your business. And again, I could give you lots of tips and I'll give you a few things to start doing, but if you don't have enough reasons, if you don't know why you want to do this, you're not going to succeed. If you're just doing this to have more subscribers or more people read your blog or more fans or to make more money, you're going to fail. You might experience short-term success or what I call small-time success. You may make a few bucks here, you may pick up a bunch of pennies, but you'll miss all the what I call dollar bill opportunities flying above your head. So you really need to get real and get focused on why you want to do this. So after you figure out your reasons why you want to pursue an online business, you now need to start figuring out, who do you want to be the problem solver for? That's kind of how I see myself. And what my mentor taught me is you have to figure, it's kind of like a triangle. The first thing you have to have in place is credibility. So you have to be credible on the topic. So, nobody wants to go to a dentist who's got white, teeth as white as a piano, right? Nobody wants to take fat loss advice from somebody who's overweight. Nobody wants to take muscle building advice from somebody who's scrawny. So the reason I pursued this world is because I had transformed my body when I was 22, and I had a pretty dramatic set of before and after pictures. So a lot of people were asking me how I did it. So essentially you could call me an authority figure. I did it 100% drug-free, zero drugs. I didn't even know what drugs were, to be honest, when I was 22. If you asked me what a steroid was, I probably wouldn't even been able to name one. Also, I used virtually no supplements, and I did it in less time. So I became an authority figure on how to build muscle naturally in less time without bogus supplements. So that kind of became my hook, if you will. It became my unique selling proposition to the world. I was teaching guys, this was before online, but actually in the gym. The guys came to me in the gym and said, "Hey Vinny, I saw you used to be a runner and now you packed on muscle. Can you help me? Can you help me?" So for 5 years while I was working in the gym, that's all I did. I worked with skinny guys. That was my favorite person to work with. I worked with a lot of people, but that was who I was most passionate about helping, because I knew they had the same problems as me. So you need to get focused on who do you want to help. People know me as the skinny guy savior, and I've kind of branded myself that way as the guy who wants to only help skinny guys build muscle. This is what I'm passionate about. I've stayed true to skinny guys who want to build muscle. Now again, over the years I've come out with separate products and things, but that's been my approach to be known as the authority figure for skinny guys. And that's what I've become a specialist in, if you will. That's what I consider myself an expert in. I don't know a lot about much, but I know a lot about how to build muscle. Okay, so for those who don't know, in 2006, I hired a coach, and it was a substantial investment. It was $7,500 to be exact. And that $7,500 involved 6 one-hour phone calls. That's it. I paid for 6 hours somebody's time, $1,500 when I was 26 years old. And at the time, I didn't even have that amount on my credit card. So I took a huge risk, and I put my trust into a coach to help me learn all the steps involved in building an online business. And the very first thing he did with me in month 1 was he showed me this triangle, and this triangle was basically the foundation of a successful business. And there was 3 different things on the triangle. The first thing was credibility. The second thing was supply and demand. And the third thing was passion. So he asked me, we started trying to figure out, which direction I should take my online business in, because I didn't know at the time. I had a lot of ideas. And when we started to look at my history as a personal trainer, it became very clear. Obviously the subject I was most credible in was helping skinny guys build muscle. Not only had I transformed my own body when I was 22, but that's who I decided to specialize my skills on in the gym setting. I worked with skinny guys primarily. So I became very good at taking a guy from scrawny to buff. And I had a whole whack of success stories, before and after pictures, prior to even writing my first book, and this is where my credibility lied. So there wasn't many things I was credible in at the age of 26, but that was one thing I was very, very good at. The second component of that, the passion part. I was obviously extremely passionate about this because, helping skinny guys build muscle, I'd do that for the rest of my life for free. It's literally, I love it. It literally changed my life, and I'm passionate about doing it for others. So the next thing is supply and demand. So if you look at the muscle building space, a lot of people will say, Vince, I want to come out with a muscle building product, but I feel like it's saturated. There's already a ton of information, and I actually disagree with that. The marketplace is saturated with bad information. It's not saturated with good information, which is the reason you'll be successful. So when I came online, I looked at what was going on, and I had to figure out how to distinguish myself. So my mentor asked me a lot of questions, and he got this out of me. I didn't think of this myself. He got this out of me by asking me the right questions, and that's what a good coach does. So he asked me, how's your product different? How did you gain muscle? And how did you gain all that muscle in 6 months? And I just started talking. I was like, I did this and I did this. And he said, is that normal? And he says, actually, no, most of the people don't do it this way. So then we started to realize that I had a unique approach to building muscle. and it was very different than what the magazines teach and what most websites teach, and that became what you could call my hook. And you know, if you ever read the tagline of No Nonsense Muscle Building, the promise of the program is to build more muscle in less time without bogus supplements and without drugs. So that was my unique approach to building muscle. And that's not very catchy, but at the time, that's kind of how I built muscle without any supplements. I gained, I think I used a bit of fish oils, multivitamin, and creatine. That's it. I couldn't even name any more supplements than that. I did it 100% drug-free, and I did it in less time. Far less time than most people are expected to build their body. So I think what I'm encouraging you to do is to come up with a winning concept. Okay, so to sum those three things up, you've got to be credible on the topic, and one of the best ways to become credible is to become a published author. Start getting published on websites. Start with simple sites like bodybuilding.com, and then try and get into some of the mags. I write for a lot of the big magazines out there. Become a published author. Start reviewing research and helping people interpret it. That's another way you can write articles. I know a lot of people have been successful doing that. But figure out what you stand for. It's the problem why a lot of people aren't successful, because they don't stand for anything. They're lukewarm. So figure out how you approach the area you want to help people with. I have a very specific way of helping skinny guys build muscle. Not everybody agrees with it, but it's worked for literally thousands and thousands of people, and this is my system. So you have to figure out, what are you credible in? 2, figure out what you're passionate about. Do not chase the money, chase your passion, all right? Last, you have to figure out, how to fill a gap in the marketplace. You have to start listening to what's going on out there. What are people having problems with? What problem can you solve in a unique way, in a different way, in a better way, in a faster way? And once you start thinking like that, you'll start to realize, what product you could create, and obviously your product is going to be the core of your business. Essentially, the people that are the most successful are the people that create the most value in other people's lives. So if people that don't have successful online businesses, what I would encourage them to do is help them figure out how to create more value for other people. And if you look at the most successful people out there, they have simply solved problems. The bigger problems you can solve, the more value you offer to the world, and the more people will, gladly hand you over their money for you to assist them with that problem. So I hope that helps. Got thrown off guard with that question, but it's a topic that I love, and I wish you all the best. I'll give you a couple people that you should start reading. The best guy out there is Craig Ballantyne. He's got a site called earlytorise.com. Strongly recommend you check out Craig Ballantyne. If you really want to, next guy, Bedros Keuilian, ptpower.com. Another phenomenal business coach for fitness professionals who have online and offline businesses. And the godfather of online marketing is a guy named Dan Kennedy. So if you guys want to go to the godfather himself, the guy that teaches everybody else, there's guys before him too, but Dan Kennedy is probably the biggest guy out there that I've learned a lot from. And another great guy is Ryan Lee, ryanlee.com. And you start studying these guys at least 2 hours a day, and I guarantee you'll be successful. That's the secret, 2 hours of reading a day, and then obviously implementing. But I always said the more you learn, the more you earn. So start studying those guys, and that'll give you plenty of reading material. All right, so if you have any follow-up questions on this topic, feel free to leave them below in the comments section, and be happy to help you out. And thank you for the question, and allowing me the opportunity to share my humble experience.